The reading today comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verses 1 to 13. He was praying in a certain place, and after he had finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray, as John taught his disciples." So he said to them, "When you pray, say, 'Father, may your name be revered as holy. May your kingdom come on earth as in heaven. Give us each day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we ourselves forgive anyone indebted to us. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from evil." And he said to them, "Suppose one of you has a friend, and you go to him at midnight and say to him, 'Friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread, for a friend of mine has arrived, and I have nothing to set before him.' And he answers from within, 'Do not bother me, the door has already been locked, and my children are with me in bed. I cannot get up and give you anything.' I tell you, even though he will not get up and give him anything out of friendship, at least because of his persistence, he will get up and give him whatever he needs. So I say to you, ask, and it will be given to you. Search, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened for you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who searches finds. And for everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for a fish, would give a snake instead of a fish? Or if the child asks for an egg, would be given a scorpion? If you, even those who are wicked, know how to give good foods to your children, how much more will the Heavenly Father give the Holy Spirit to those who ask? Lord, may your work help feed our inner hunger and quench our thirsty souls."
Thank you, Roger. All around us, and the risk is we become insensitive to it, but all around us, there are active, intentional, targeted efforts and attempts to exclude people. It happens on many fronts. It happens as obviously as an exercise of power and control, or coercion to get power and control. Sometimes it happens through ignorance, or on your development as a child. You were born and raised to believe particular things about particular people that you never bother to address and just hold on to. It comes from this preparedness to dehumanise another neighbour rather than to love them. It comes from this point that says your humanity, your possibility to contribute, your value, your desire to be involved, to flourish, or even just to survive. I'm blind to that because it's not as important, or it might even impinge in some ways, on mine. And I don't want to take that risk. Your job, your position, when you're dehumanising somebody else, the stance, the posture is that your job, your position is to sit back, to shut up, and to fit in. And to fit in with what I say is normal. And you'll be excluded if you won't do that. Sometimes, often, exclusion comes from a place of fear, and it's sort of similar to the unknown. It's that to ignorance, it's the unknown. Now, we've got current examples of this going on all around us in the world. You know, some obvious ones, the low-hanging fruit. We're in Gaza at the moment, and it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And what we're watching is, one nation trying to annihilate another, and going about it by any means in a dispassionate way. This week in the Senate, you'll know, some of you will be aware that one nation, the senators decided to stand up and walk out on the acknowledgement of country. And when they got to speak about why, it became quite clear it was fueled by this immature, false perception of inequality. Oh, well, they're getting more than I'm getting. So therefore, we're not going to put up with that, and this is our protest. Sounding more like Year 3 students. And that's probably an insult to Year 3 students. The inability to engage with another person. You'd rather judge them and try and put them in their place than to understand their story. And we vote these people in. The current political climate in the US, and I'm not going to launch into that too hard, but you know what it's like. You see it, I see it. There's this growing traction. Exclusion is the tool. And it happens on many grounds. And some of you may well have experienced this at different times. Exclusion can happen on the basis of race, on the basis of gender, on the basis of your nationality or your language, your religion, your abilities or perceived lack of. People are often excluded on the basis of class or wealth or opportunity for education. The church seems to have labelled this one as the most important, but sexuality is a big one for some people about choosing to exclude people. Maybe it's about unsavoury habits, addictions. Maybe we exclude people have experienced exclusion on life's pitfalls, like becoming homeless. Talk to any homeless person about what it's like to be homeless. People stop meeting you. They stop looking at you. They don't look you in the face and eye to eye anymore. You're often seated on the ground, and people, either out of embarrassment or out of indifference, don't talk to you like a person. They don't see you. No one stops for a conversation. There's exclusion that goes on around things like embarrassments in life, like unemployment or a relationship breakdown. And people often end up feeling like they don't fit in. Because, as I said, eyes look the other way. Doors close. Words are said that hurt. It happens here in our own community. And you and I will encounter, you get to have any involvement in our life as a church, and we often meet people for whom exclusion is a reality. It has different levels, it has different fronts, but so many people that we encounter talk about, in one way or another, exclusion. People often express feeling left out or left behind or forgotten, actively forgotten or ignored, actively ignored. Now, in the same way that exclusion requires an active stance, it's actually an active thing to exclude somebody. You're taking actions, you're saying words, You're embedding behaviours. Like it requires you to move on it, to exclude people. It becomes your value and your behaviour and your stance. So too is the same for the flip side of exclusion. When we start talking about inclusion, it's drawing us into this space where we say we might value something, but it needs to become embedded in our behaviours. It needs to become embedded in our actions. It needs to become embedded in how we talk and how we speak and how we approach and our posture towards people. It becomes an active thing to be an inclusive people. Because inclusion is not just an absence of exclusion. I'll say that again. Being inclusive is not just the absence of exclusion, because that is tolerance. And we can do a whole lot better than that. Inclusion says we see you. We know you might be a little bit different for whatever reason. We can see that life might be a little bit challenging and that you might be feeling a little bit left out, a little bit left behind. And we see it. And you know what? We don't believe that taking one photo tells you the whole story of someone's life. Taking one picture is the video of their life. We're going to do our best to see you. And we will walk with you. And we will grow with you. And we will learn from you. And together we will flourish. That's what inclusion is. That's what inclusion says. That's its posture. It doesn't see the stranger as a threat. It sees the stranger as an opportunity. Now, here's the thing. Because we might at the moment just sound like any nice community organisation, or we might sound like we're a bit scared of a government policy that if we say the wrong thing, we're going to end up being taken somewhere for saying wrong words. But inclusion is actually far more than just a social issue for us. It's not just a political stance. Inclusion is more than smiling faces and polite platitudes. It's an active, engaging, life-giving gospel imperative. It comes to us from Jesus. Which might seem a little odd. A lot of us will have grown up where Jesus was the plumb line, whether you were in or out, and what you believed about Jesus. Yes, you believe this, you're in. If you don't believe this, enjoy the fire. All right? That's how the gospel's been shared. But I want to share with you a different understanding of it. Now the thing is, I know you already know this. I'll tell you why I know you already know it in a minute. But at the moment, what I want to say is that the gospel imperative on us is to be inclusive as Jesus was inclusive. It's the calling on each one of us as a disciple of Christ, a follower of Jesus. At the very heart of who Jesus was and continues to be, alive through Word, Spirit, is inclusion. Jesus went across boundaries. He didn't hide when he did it quite often. This was out in the open. Everyone could see it. He was judged for it. Enemies are found. When you start being inclusive, there are people who feel very threatened. But Jesus went across boundaries. He went across social norms. Jesus touched lepers. Jesus conversed openly and publicly and equally and had conversations with women. Now that might seem like an odd thing to say in this day and age, But in Jesus' time, oh boy. Jesus even defended a woman caught in adultery. Jesus ate and drank with tax collectors. And again, I don't know if Wayne, you're watching. Wayne used to be a tax collector. Nice person. But, like in Jesus' time, tax collectors were in cahoots with the Romans and they were making a profit out of the people and they were hated. Jesus healed a Roman centurion's dear, favourite, highly prized servant. Now, if you want to know why I'm putting that in inverted commas, what I'm trying to say is that scholarship would say it's quite possible that the young servant we're talking about was someone who was in a same-sex relationship with the centurion. And Jesus healed him. Jesus proclaimed God's favour not for some, but for all. Now, as I said, in some ways I know I'm singing to the choir. You guys already know this stuff, right? I know you know it because when we were putting together your mission plan, I went away and did some looking back at documentation, and there was a point where Coram Uniting shifted, and there had been quite a strong flavour, which was no, and then suddenly the word inclusion started turning up in your paperwork about 20 years ago. And I will say very clearly and publicly that one of the reasons I came here and why I took the call to come here was that word. Because I saw it in your paperwork. It's a very strong part of who I am. It's something I'm very passionate about. And I saw it in your paperwork and I went, right, great, you're a people who get it. And I think you are. And I'm not here to tell you. I'm not here to point a finger. I'm not here to tell you, you should be more like this or whatever. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to say, let's keep feeding ourselves for this. Yeah? This is in your DNA. And I want to encourage you to keep being like this. So in our mission plan, I've got a couple of slides. In our mission plan, we named inclusion as a value, right? Now, this is our mission plan. This is the one-page summary. I know it's very small. It's even small for me, all right? And I'm standing close, and I've got it there too. I'm just showing you the big picture. This is almost everything you need to know about who we're trying to be as Coram Uniting Church. It's on one page summary. And our vision statement's there, finding life through finding God. Our mission statement is there, growing community connection for all. And as I said before, the vision statement expresses what we see in the world, what we're trying to move into. The mission statement is how we're going to do it. And our values is who are we going to be. Now, the values are over on the left-hand side. That's the left-hand column. We've named our values with a little bit of work around each one. So Kyle, I'll get you to bring the next slide up. The first one is inclusion. And in our mission plan, when we talk about who we're going to be, this is what we say. We value growing a culture of inclusive hospitality, respect, generosity, compassion, grace, and mercy. We will value being with more so than doing for. We will try to meet rather than fix someone. Do they sound like words that fuel you a little bit for being an inclusive kind of person? I mean, this is the sort of stuff you can take away from church and do it out on the street, all right? I hope you do. I hope this feeds, it does for me. But this is a posture of an inclusive person. I'm not above you. I'm not judging you. I can see you. And I'm going to walk with you. Let's not be swayed off course from that. Let's go to the next slide, Kyle, if you don't mind. You see, the thing is that many people have encountered the church as being an exclusive kind of place, an excluding place sometimes too. That it actually works. You know, we use the word fellowship and we think it means the same for everybody. But what fellowship often ends up being is we're like this, and you can join in with us. Pardon, sorry? A club. Yeah, that's the risk of it. I'm not saying it always works that way, because there are really good values about in the word fellowship, and I don't want to dwell on that too much today. But there is this sense that as we name being inclusive, and I said before, it does create enemies. It raises eyebrows. There are a lot of churches who don't get this, who wouldn't get this, that when we name inclusion as one of our core values, they won't get it. They don't get it. I know, I've had conversations with people of faith, don't get it. Why inclusion is important, or why it's important for us. Only this week, Gail was telling me a story about someone she had coffee with, someone who she grew up with, right? And what had happened was that they were in a youth group together, and the youth group was made up of people who came from the community and people who went to church. And at one point, the youth group worked on this basis, as I know I grew up in the PFA, and the same sort of thing, like the idea you've got a secretary and a president and a treasurer, and you do your own activities, you make your own funds, you do, blah, blah, blah. And the group was ready for its leadership voting, right? And so they made a decision about who they wanted to be the president. And the group themselves wanted this friend of Gail's, this woman, I mean, we're talking about more than 40 years ago. And this woman, the group wanted this woman to be, young woman to be the president. And the church said no, because she wasn't a regular at church. She didn't believe the right things. So the youth group had said that to who we want. The church said no. We're 40 years down the track, and that person's still talking about it. I have always felt excluded. She never went back to church. She never went to church. I always felt excluded. I always felt like it wasn't for me. I always felt it just made me feel like I wasn't good enough. If that was an isolated story, okay, you could fix it, we could have that conversation. But let me tell you very clearly, it is not. There are so many people out in the community who are carrying stories of hurt and pain, or now indifference, because they don't give a stuff about what the church thinks, says, does, because of experiences like that. And for a while there, the church worked on this kind of principle. And I've seen this quite proudly used as almost like a banner: believing, becoming, belonging. That's how, like you find your beliefs, you join, you encounter us, you come along, we'll help you get your beliefs right, and then you can become more like us, and then you will belong. All right? You ever experienced that in a church? Or it's subtle, I know, and it's never on a banner. It's never the headline. This is what we're doing, or what we're on about. But this is how a lot of churches work. Get your beliefs right. Become more like one of us. And then you belong. Now, some churches think they've done something revolutionary. Go to the next one if you don't mind, Kyle. By working on this basis. Okay, so we worked out that believing isn't the right place to start. So what we'll do is we'll do attractional kind of things, and we'll try and get you to be part of us. You can start belonging, you can start coming along. And then we'll get your beliefs right? Then we'll get your beliefs right. Because your beliefs have to get right somewhere in there. It's a real it's a modernist way of thinking of life. If you get your thoughts right, everything else will fall into place. And the church has been guilty of it for a long, long time. So come along, we're nice people, you'll like us. We'll get your beliefs right for you, and then you'll become more like us, more like Jesus, more like whatever. The becoming kind of works like that. Now, I think here at Corrimal we work quite differently to that even as well. And I want to share with you how I think we work and why I think it's a very inclusive way to work. So the next one, the last one, Kyle. And it's this way: belonging, becoming, believing. We have so many stories of people we encounter. What belonging as a starting point says is, I see you, I'm going to meet you. We're going to share in this together. Okay, if you've got problems that you want fixed, we'll fix those problems if it means we get to meet you. We're not seeing you as a problem to fix up. We're not going to. Our starting point isn't that your beliefs are a problem. We're going to fix those up. Our starting point is if you like. We encounter people with all kinds of things. You know, it can be clothing, it can be loneliness, it can be needing a phone charge, needing a shower, it can be needing some food, it can be, there's all sorts of things that people come to us and they trust us enough to walk in the door and say, this is where I'm at. Can you help me out? And we do so because we want to meet them. Now, there are a number of people who are, I would say belonging goes further than just meeting somebody. It says, we see who you are and we can see your value and we're happy to involve you in whatever it is that you feel like, where you feel like your contribution could be valued. We'll worry about everything else later, okay? At the moment, it's just that we can see that your flourishing and our flourishing are tied up together. We've got stuff to do here together. So whatever your gifts are, whatever your contribution is, we'll do our best to find a place where that fits in with who we are. And what you find then is, when people feel a sense of belonging, then there's a sense of becoming. We are becoming community together. Right? And then the belief stuff, well, again, it's my lowest priority of all of this stuff. Except that what I believe is that this works. When we start with belonging, and when we become together, we become community together, to me that's where I understand the Spirit to be alive and working. The believing part of it, look, I take this view. There are however many of us in the room, and there's probably double that number to get the number of different beliefs and variants we've got on the faith. We're never going to get our beliefs all lined up, and we should never judge each other. We should never draw a line that says you're in or out based on what you believe about this, that or the other. What we should be saying is you are valued by God, and I'm going to meet you where you are. When we have volunteer inductions, I've used this line a number of times in this space before, but I'll say to people, we don't need you to drink the Kool-Aid, all right? We don't need you to believe so strongly about something or to get your beliefs lined up to be a volunteer with us. That's not where we start. What I will say is the only thing we need you to believe is that love will make a difference. That if you come into this space and join in our community and bring a sense of love with you and you're prepared to live and act from that space, then that's good enough. That's all we need. That's the baseline belief. The rest of it will work out later. So I just want to finish up in this kind of space to say that I think inclusion is a really powerful tool. Tool's not the right word. It's a very powerful movement. I think it's a gospel movement. People come to life. Hopefully you've got stories from your own life where you've chosen to meet somebody rather than to judge, rather than to fix. Where you've met somebody where they're at and not let the rest of the interaction be directed by the difference, but let it be directed by the mutual sense of this. There's a meeting going on here, and I've got something to learn from this as well. Because through inclusion, people transform. Through inclusion, people resurrect. And I know I haven't even addressed the Bible reading this morning, and I thought I'd just let that reading sit and let it feed you as it does. But I'd like to think what it's inviting us into is this space of on earth as it is in heaven, where doors are opened, even at midnight. Mind you, please don't come to my place at midnight, see? But if you do...
Got some bread?
There was some bread, that's right. Gail will elbow me, you get out, out you go. All right. But even at midnight, doors can be opened, all right? Even to the most intrusive of people to be included, doors can be opened. In this sense of generosity of action, generosity of spirit. And that's where I believe the gospel comes alive. So that's where I'm going to leave things today. And I just want to say that's why I think we value inclusion in this space. All are welcomed. All are loved. Everyone is safe here. You might... I'm always wary about what I say here about those kind of statements, because I know there are people who will say, I don't feel that. But I want to say, and I don't want to dismiss that, but what I want to say is this is what we're working towards. Okay, we won't always get it right, but this is the direction we'll always be drawing towards, hopefully, and we'll get there, or somewhere near there along the way. And we will do our best to ensure that all are seen, all are involved, all are valued, all are included. Because let's face it, Christ includes all of us. Amen. We're going